Can you really improve listening comprehension in a language by listening to audiobooks? That is the question that I wanted to test. To experiment with this, I chose one of my favorite novels, Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. But instead of rereading this in English, I went to Audible and picked up the German version, Sturz der Titanen, narrated by Philipp Schepmann. It is 37 hours long. A bit of a commitment when you don't know all the words, but I wanted to know what would happen if I just, listened. My logic was pretty simple. I already knew the story, the characters, the major twists, and since I had read this book twice already, I had a pretty good imagination, pictures in my head, what have you, of what was going to happen. So this gave me context to hang on to. My goal wasn't to understand every single word. Honestly, I just knew that wasn't possible. Instead, I wanted to see if repeated listening could help me improve 3 things: comprehension, vocabulary and context, and prosody, which in linguistics refers to the rhythm, intonation, and flow of speech. I figured, if I could tune in my ear to German, I might not only recognize words, but also feel more comfortable with the natural speed and melody of the language. This idea isn't new. The polyglot Steve Kaufmann puts it perfectly. You need to get used to the language, the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation. Even if you don't understand, your brain is getting used to the language. In the same blog post he adds, listening without understanding every word still helps you improve comprehension over time because you're training your brain to recognize pattern. So what was my experience? At first, honestly, it was overwhelming. Schepmann's narration was fast, fluid, and it felt like I was just drowning in sound. But something shifted around the 10-hour mark after part 1 of the book. I started hearing repeated words and phrases, little anchors I could hold on to, and about 20 hours in, I could really follow the general outline of a scene. I still missed details, but I wasn't completely lost anymore. What surprised me most wasn't just vocabulary, it was the prosody. The rise and fall of sentences, the way words connected, and the natural pacing. I began to sense the rhythm of German speech. And that rhythm gave me confidence because I wasn't just translating anymore, I was just simply hearing it. I also noticed a grammar breakthrough. In German, when you use words like weil or das, you're in what's called the subordinate clause, and the verb always gets kicked to the end. For example, ich lerne Deutsch, weil ich in Deutschland leben möchte. I had studied this before, but it never stuck. Hearing this again and again in the audiobook made it feel more natural. I wasn't thinking about the rule anymore, I was just recognizing the pattern, and that was a huge shift. Now I'm going to repeat this experiment in Spanish with the same book. I want to see if the process feels smoother this time, and if using a story I already know helps me recognize grammar, rhythm, in a third language even faster. If this works, I might turn this into a system. Same book, different languages, and tracking how comprehension builds with each attempt. So, can you learn a language through audiobooks alone? Probably not. But as part of a bigger system, reading, speaking, practicing, it's surprisingly powerful. As that previous blog post put it, the more you listen, the more you understand, even if it feels slow at first. Moving forward, I definitely want to make sure I'm increasing my vocabulary. My listening comprehension definitely improved throughout this process. However, I lacked a lot of the vocabulary necessary to understand the details in the book. Have you tried learning with audiobooks? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to follow along, don't forget to subscribe.